Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. If you've been on this channel before, and if you haven't, shame on you, fix that please. But if you have been here, and you're going to learn real fast, if you haven't heard me say it already, I've had a strong weakness for samurai flavored models for the tabletop since time immemorial. I've always been a big fan of samurai stuff. Not so much a big fan of having to paint all of the intricate patterns and things that go on their armor. But, you know, I mean, I will do it and I will put the time and effort most of the days that it takes to get those types of things finished up, regardless of what size they may be. But if there's anything that I really enjoy more than just regular vanilla run-of-the-mill samurai type stuff, it's when things start to get funky and interesting and fun. And for whatever reason, the Dragon Trappers Lodge has just continued to roll out a steady stream of stuff that I cannot resist. Now, let me preface everything that you see today by warning you that literally my printer's screen is beyond dying. It's got so many multiple dead spots in it. I've already ordered a new screen to replace it. Been there, done that before. Unfortunately, due to Prime Day shenanigans, blocking and backing everything up, it's going to be some time before I get that new screen. However, I could not help myself. I had to start printing some of these new figures. So, I forget the official fancy title, but it's Asian-themed Bug Samurai. And if that sounds like something that you want, then I got something you need to see. So, this is one of the hero models, and if you're not familiar, the Dragon Trappers Lodge tends to do kind of a dual release for their main Patreon tribes type thing, where it's kind of divided between both the RPG stuff and the wargaming stuff. This is their RPG selection. And I mean, the details. So we've got a drinking samurai with a giant metal club. And I gotta say, it was kind of cool that of all of the bugs, there's a lot of variety. You don't have just beetles, actually. So the more heavily armored samurai ones tend to be beetles. You can see he's got like the ornate headdress there on his Kabuto Mushi head. And, well, there's like even little kanji type runes inscribed upon it. I hadn't even noticed that. Sadly, I feel they're a little too human-sized. I want them bigger, but that's just me. I might have to blow one up to a 40mm base just to see how large it is. But you can see they fit in at least with a lot of other models that you may have if you really want to get kind of a varied, you know, samurai-themed table going on, of which obviously I do. And I mean, honestly, they fit in pretty well size-wise. I've just got the one bug guy here at the moment, but, you know, with some of the other stuff that the Dragon Trappers Lodge has created, they're pretty consistent with the scale. So if you feel like me, where you want to start goofing around and, you know, bouncing things up and down, sure, you got plenty of options in that regard. And it's not like they haven't made little guys before anyways. Actually, that might be kind of fun, having some little tiny bug dudes. So, yes, we've got the basic Beetle Samurai. I tried printing this one. Now, this guy, unfortunately, he lost his extra little adornment there. You'll notice due to printer shenanigans. Yeah, he's all roughed up. I'm going to be printing these guys again later on, but I wanted to let people see them while they're at least available, despite my poor print jobs. You know, just to kind of get an idea of what to expect. I think this is your base, sir. The Beetles sit on 32mm bases. If that's even his base, which it seems to be. And get the regular human Chosen of the Kami out of here, which was from an earlier Dragon Trappers Lodge set. That was actually from one of their wargaming sets. So just kind of get an idea of the size here. Now, they did have multiple poses of those beetles, in addition to our friend there. This was kind of a cool one. This was the Wasp Ronin. Now, some of these figures have very delicate parts, something to be aware of. Obviously, we don't want to mess them up too badly. Surprisingly, he got off of the printer unscathed. I'm quite pleased with that. Some of his friends, like the more RPG monsters, like this wolf moth, did not. You'll notice he just doesn't have a foot there. Not that that seems like it's going to stop him. Look at the tiny little details, like the extra vestigial arms there. Limbs, I should say, they're not arms. Of course, his base didn't fare much better. But that's nothing a little bit of green stuff can't fix up. And honestly, it looks like he's going to fit on the base quite nicely as well. Sadly, for as much offerings as this RPG set had, they didn't have any mounted guys, which would have been really kind of fun and crazy. In addition to the Wasps, in fact, I think I have another of the Wasps. This is one of the Wasp assassins. You'll notice he just has a gap between where the chain and his hand should go, unfortunately. In addition to the Wasps, they had Mantis monks, the character model of which had like a floating spirit. Character didn't even print at all, so like I said, we'll get back to him. And unfortunately, I don't think this was intentional. I think this is more printer error. But considering it's a floating spirit thing, I'm just going to allow it. Looks like it works okay. You know, makes it more of an incorporeal, if that's the right word, state. Kind of like a summon thing going on there on 32mm base. Besides those, we had a whole bunch of moths. Now, this is one of the moth characters. Sadly, I didn't realize these little tassels hanging off of his staff were what they were, and I ended up cutting a bunch off. I'm somewhat tempted to just remove them all and make it at least, you know, the same across. Amazingly, this character did survive the printer in one piece. I do like the fact that we have the extra contact points on the base with the tails of his wings. Something I'm always worrisome about is the, you know, fragility of some of these models. But the more spots we have to hit them on the base, the better. Here's another one of the moths, the moth spell swords. I feel like his second sword here in his lower arms didn't print all the way, but I'm not going to really worry about it because everything else seems to be okay. And again, most of these, like the spell swords, you got multiple poses of, the wolf moths, the mantis monks, the, you know, wasp assassins, all that stuff have multiple poses. The character models, not so much. And then if you still haven't had enough and you're interested more in the wargaming side of things, they have been continuing to churn out all kinds of fun vampire models. I haven't really been into them. They've been very specific with that kind of conquistador aesthetic, but this time around when the insect silk guys were all released, they had more big, you know, centerpiece type boss monsters. So this is like one of the elder vampires, and I thought this is kind of cool with him floating there with all the bats bouncing out from under his cloak. And again, surprisingly, one single piece with no print errors. So I feel like I tried my luck enough with this set of models. I'm going to just remain aloof for the time being when it comes to printing these, and hopefully, you know, a couple of them are still salvageable, but just really, I was that excited, and at least I got the ones that I was most looking forward to getting painted, printed in relatively one piece. I don't know, you guys can offer your thoughts. Should I cut off the tassels or leave them on there? But we will be seeing, at least I can guarantee, the Beetle guys. Once I get the printer fixed up, we're going to have another fresh batch of them. And it's not like, as I've said before, there aren't quite a few varieties of other interesting things available from the Dragon Trappers Lodge if you haven't ever checked it out. I mean, I get to the point where I've been doing these videos of theirs almost on a monthly basis because they keep getting that cool of releases. And I mean, I don't know if you could hear the excitement in my voice, but it's like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to print on a regular basis. Yeah, you have a lot of the typical fantasy tropes, and they actually do have their whole Dungeon Classics line if you want just regular stuff, but they keep rolling with like just weird, fun, interesting things like this. I'm going to keep being there, and you're going to have to keep seeing it, and hopefully you're going to keep enjoying it. And if you haven't had a chance, well, that link's down there below. Now is as good a time as any to get started. And with that said, then, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.